Right, when I was in London, I went in a shop. I don't know when those pictures will be on my blog, but they will be on my blog at some point. Vivi Rouleau, she's a trimming shop, she's theatre designer and theatre costume makers. One of my old tutors used to work in Covent Garden at the theatres, sewing costumes, elaborate, extravagant, over-the-top costumes, and he said to me that he used to go in there and spend an absolute fortune in there, and the silk shops in Soho, not his money of course, the theatre company's money. So she's got masses and masses of beautiful braids and ribbons and all this feathers and feather boas and pom-poms and, you know, you name it, they've got it. So they had like a library of ribbon cards, and it was they were holding samples of all the ribbons they had. So it was like almost like a box frame, but it was made out of cardboard. And then across, a bit like my cloth sample book that I've done already. And then from these cards would be hanging beautiful ribbons with numbers at the top. Okay. And each card would have about 5 or 6 of these, only card, 5 or 6 of these card strips going across with these beautiful ribbons hanging off them, like that. And that got me thinking about, well, the first thing I thought was that looks like my cloth sample book, but when it's done with paper. And as you know, I want to do my stitch ledger in a fabric book. So although that is staying in my head for future reference, so that was that. So then I thought, I don't want to make just another cloth book like the cloth book I've made already. So I had a thought about doing a very long strip of fabric. Okay. With all my samples, with something decorative going across like that at the top to hold the samples, and then having lots of tall narrow pages, but just making it a page at a time before I started to join it together. And then this morning when I got up, I was thinking I need to decide which fabric I'm going to use for my pages, and then I need to press it before class, before I make the videos. What fabric have I got that's this length? I've got silk, I've got loads of silk, I've got broderie anglaise, I've got cotton, and then I thought, Karen, what are you doing? When you started this class, you made little tiny samples because you wanted this to be precious. You wanted it to be a precious book, so you didn't want it to be OTT big. So then I changed my mind, as I do, and I thought I'm going to do them small. So I'm going to just do 5 by 5 inch pages with 3 by 3 inch samples in them, and then every page will turn over. So you're going to talking about a lot of thickness here, because I mean I've got about 18 samples already, we haven't finished yet, so you're talking about a lot of pages. But I mean, if you think about my artist books, they don't close, do they? So if I've got 18 cloth pages or 28 cloth pages that need to be joined together, as long as the spine can be joined together, it doesn't matter if that then just flips over and won't close. I can still turn those pages. Are you with me? What I mean by that is, if the spine is big enough, so let's say this is the spine, and we had a bookmaker at the weekend, one lovely woman, all the way from the good old US of A, and she said she's done a couple of my classes, and she was telling me about when I call things a spine, or when I call things in bookmaking, I'm not using the right word. And so I said, she wasn't being horrible, she was just like, oh yeah, and Karen, by the way, this bit here, that's called this. And I've forgotten. So I'm glad she's not in this class, because she'd be coming around rapping my knuckles, but I've forgotten. So I'm going to call it a spine, because like I always say, I'm not a bookmaker. So the spine, if the spine is big enough, then all these pages can just flow off it, can't they? Doesn't matter to me if it doesn't close. I quite like that structural, I'm not going to say architectural because that's too posh, sculpture like that sculpted look where nothing's really flat. I quite like that. So my plan today, I've cut a bit of silk, I'll put that over there. Where is it? So I want my pages to be 5 by 5, I did measure this, but I've been trying to use offcuts, so I'm not 100% sure how big this is. I'm keeping one eye on the time because I have to go out and sort flowers out. I'm sorry, that's not your fault and it shouldn't affect this class. I do apologise. So if I leave an inch there for hemming and stuff there, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comes to there. I may not even have enough here for the size of spine that I want, because all I will have here is 2.5 inches, so maybe it's not big enough. So what I'll have to do is I'll do what I was going to do today anyway, and I'll talk you through. And I have bought a pencil sharpener, but I haven't got around to doing that one yet, so I'm going to get one of these. That'll teach me to try and use offcuts. So what I'm going to have is a 5 by 5 square. So that's 5, that's 5. Then I'm going to have pinning out damp stretching allowance around there like that. Okay. We're all different. I'll probably have 1.5 inches all the way around for damp stretching, pinning and hemming. This side won't need that, because then I'm going to have a 3-inch spine. Okay. And my 3-inch sample will sit in the middle. So that book, that's my sample, will be 3 by 5, which is 8 by 5. Okay. So that is my plan. Like I say, it could change, who knows. And don't ask me about a cover yet, because I haven't even got to that stage. All these pages need to be made anyway before I could put it together. So the cover doesn't need to be considered yet, really. We've been doing a thing in Artist Books, and I'm doing a cover, and I had a plan for that cover. And even that changes. Things change as you work on them. So I don't mind if I don't have a firm plan, because nothing's set in stone and it can be adapted. Because, I mean, you could have a wonderful... I had changed ideas this morning, just ironing cloth, and that happens, doesn't it? So what I really need is an 8 by 5 piece of silk. Well, I don't actually, so I need an extra on there, don't I? So if I have 2 inches on there, so I need a 10. Well, no, that's wrong as well, see. So I need 2-inch... damp stretch and fold over allowance there, 3-inch spine, 5-inch page, 1.5 all the way around there. So I'll say 2 instead of 1.5, then it's easier to add up. So 5, 7, 9, okay, so that's 9 height, by 2 and 3 is 5, and 5 is 10, and 2 is 12. So I need a 9 by 12 piece of silk to work with to start. But what I'm going to do today, because I hope I'm going to throw myself on your mercy, because I'm still asleep, and I hope that doesn't mean you're getting a substandard class. I don't think it does, but I just haven't got it in me to get up and start measuring and ironing silk, and that's probably why, because I'm tired, that I did that wrong. So what I'm going to do is show you what I'm going to do then. So I'll have my 5 by 5 page. If I mark that out on here, it won't matter actually. It's probably better to do this way. I can mark it out on the front and show you what I'm going to do. So 5 by 5. So I can mark this on the front. This is a test piece, okay. So that's 3 there. And I'll mark this out on the back when I'm doing the actual thing. Okay. Pencil sharpener. Right, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can still count, that's a bonus. I was on the train coming home, and there was a little boy, he was about 2. And he was running up and down the aisle of the carriage, and his mother was behind him. She had kind of controlled him, but he was just restless. So I guess I don't mind that. Kids need to kill energy, don't they? Just let me get a drink. It's hard to keep a child of 2 quiet on a train. They want to be up and doing things, don't they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the mother was like behind him. He wasn't just abandoned to run wild. He was laughing, he was really happy. Anyway, he tripped and he fell and he smacked his head, his forehead, on the arm of a chair, which is very metal arms on trains, and he split his head right open. There was blood everywhere. So she picked him up and she actually said a swear word, which I don't blame her. I think I would have done. I went, oh! I felt this pain. He was screaming the train down. She ran with him. There was a buffet car next to our carriage. She ran with him in there. Could hear him crying. And the next thing, the buffet person come on and said, "Can the train manager come to the buffet car immediately, please?" And then 5 minutes later, the thing come on again. "This is the train manager. If there's a doctor on board the train, can you please make your way to the buffet car as soon as possible?" And then 5 minutes later, there was another call. "We have a doctor, thank you." And then about 10 minutes after that, the actual train guard who checked your tickets came and got all their stuff and went somewhere with it. But the point, what I'm saying is, I can count, so I'm awake. He was screaming, so that made me think he wasn't as badly hurt as it looked. That's the point of that story. 1, 2, 3, 4, in case you're wondering. But yeah, I mean, children, he wasn't unconscious, he was actually actively screaming the train down. Don't blame him, I would have been. So to me, that's a good sign. If a child's injured, but they're obviously animated, then they're okay, aren't they? So what I'm going to do, mark them out on the back, stitch around them with Gutterman, and then an inch in from the top, and an inch in, no actually if I want them in, yeah, an inch in from the top, and an inch in from either side. This all have to be marked on the back again. So I just need to do it part way down. So an inch in from that side, because remember my samples are 3 inches. We had to do all this when I was at uni, and I used to like. This will all be on the reverse when I'm doing it properly. So an inch down. And all this will be marked on the back, and all of this will be Gutterman. So when I turn over to the front, I'm going to have a Gutterman square, and all I'm going to be marking with Gutterman of this bit is this line to give me my placement for my header, for my sample, okay? So outline your square, do all the measuring on the back and all the marking like that, and then just stitch that one line to mark your header, where your header needs to be, okay? And then what I thought was, I've got some beautiful braid here, I've got different colours, okay? I can easily get more of this. So this is 3 inches now, because I marked an inch in from either side. This braid doesn't tend to fray. If you cut a clean edge with good scissors, it shouldn't come undone or fray. So cut 3 inches of it, like that. In fact, I'm going to contradict myself there. I would actually cut 3 1/4 to give yourself a little bit of leeway at the edges, okay? So it's 1, 2, 3 1/4, because you've got to fit your sample in here. This is bias braid, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I mean, I know you know what bias is. I bought it, I didn't make it. You're going to be putting your sample in there, so you need to give yourself leeway so your sample isn't sticking out the side in case it's a little bit over the 3 inches. So I'll get that back, and then the first thing I'm going to do, and I know I'm going to lose some of this, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes you have to lose bits of what you've done. It's all building up to the finished piece, isn't it? Lay that in there. Like that, and you're going to have some wonderful contrasts going on here. If you think about the pattern that you've used to frame your piece, and then the pattern that you make. I mean, you can make plain binding, you can buy plain binding if you want to do plain, and then so I'm going to pin it. I'm only going to pin it for now, But when I've cut a proper piece, when I come back next time, I'm going to stitch it with beads. I'm going to have dangly beads on it because I'm turning into the person who has to titivate everything over the top. Don't ask me why. I must have had a bang on the head. So there. So that will be stitched into there. What I will probably do is secure it with my beads or my sequins. And then I've got my line here. So that braid, lower edge of that braid, will then be put on there. And then it will be stab stitched at the top. Along there to there. So all my little pages will look like that. So that is my plan, okay, for this mountain. Hope that all makes. Can you imagine how lovely these are all going to look when the pages are all together and there's this huge book that opens out? So that's what I'm going to do with that. Now, today hasn't been a very long post, but I'm sure I'll make up for it in the future. I can't necessarily hit an hour every week because sometimes some weeks take longer than, like one week it might be over an hour, another week it might be less than an hour. But next time I'm going to work on the garment thing and I'm going to have a proper page ready for this, to work on this. So next time you'll be here for a week, so don't worry about that. I really would never shortchange you, ever. So you've got 2 stitches. You've got my plan for this. If you want to do this, you can crack on with this. Nobody got back to me about wanting to know about mounting onto paper into a paper book. That's still an option. If you need to know about that, then just let me know. Just get in touch and let me know. Might do that anyway, because I might do something like this. This is in my head. It was, I mean, if the pictures, I wonder, actually I could probably get one up on my phone and show you. Let me have a look. And then there's somebody else on the class in London who had index cards with all her laces that she actually had in the house pinned to them. Wonderful. I mean, some people are so organised, but not me. Where's that gone? Oh, here. Oh, mind you, you can't see the actual. Right, so that's what they looked like in the shop. Like a library of all these index cards. So you pull one of them out and then they would look like this, but it's not very clear, to be fair, because it's part of a collage of things. There, can you see that? So that is really exciting me, that. So that may come into play somewhere along the line, because we are doing a lot of sampling, aren't we? So, you know, who knows? You never know. I would certainly like to investigate that myself. So that is my plan. So I'm thinking how lovely that's going to be as a little book with an oversized spine, which probably isn't called a spine. And if she was called Karen, if Karen was here, she'd be putting me on the naughty step. I do apologise for that. So that's it. So I'm going to come back on Friday next week. Everything's going to revert back to normal next week. And it'll be a heavy post, I'm thinking, next Friday. Because there's quite a bit I want to do. There'll be 2 more stitches, garment piece. I'm doing the first page for this. Okay.